Is she unmuted?
Let me get her.
She's back yet. I don't see her on the list yet. She has to
Yeah,
call
she's
back.
not back yet. So let's go with Janae, and then we'll get Janetta.
Janetta,
Well,
go ahead and introduce yourself.
Operation Hope. I'm out of Washington, D.C., so I'm in the DMV area, and I work for a company that's the Career Financial Inclusion Company that focuses on low to moderate income communities, LMI communities, and we focus on community reinvestment in communities that are now considered opportunity zones. We always thought it was an opportunity zone, and looking forward to talking more about it later.
Fred Brown, if you could introduce yourself.
And Janetta's back.
Oh, she's back. Okay, great.
Good evening, everyone. It's nice to be on the call. My name is Fred Brown. I'm the president and CEO of the Forbes Funds. It's a intermediary foundation that provides community support around capacity building focused on human services and community development. We're in the city of Pittsburgh. We touch about 1,500 nonprofits a year. There's 8,500 in our region. We work very closely with about 700 of those on a daily and weekly basis.
Okay, Janetta, if you're on, could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me. Very excited to be here. My name is Janetta Hardy, and I am the Executive Director for the Entrepreneurship Academy at Bowie State University. And what we do is we are providing an entrepreneurial mindset for our students. We're creating this culture, this behavior. Our president is all about exposing every student to entrepreneurship, and we're supporting that vision with our co-curricular activities and programs. And by the way, this is the third entrepreneurship center that I have managed. I was at Howard University. We were one of the 8 Kauffman campuses to receive a multi-million-dollar grant. And when I was there, part of the generous grant, we worked with we worked with all of the 105 HBCUs to try to expose them to entrepreneurship and have them create programs.
Wow, that's incredible. We have, I believe, Chef Claudie Pierre. Are you on, Chef?
Okay, hold on. Let me make sure. Okay, here he is. Hold on one sec. There you go.
Chef Claudie Pierre, could you introduce yourself really quickly?
Yeah,
and
I'm having, hey, what's up, everybody? How you guys doing? Hello?
We're all
right.
good.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited. This is a power-packed panel, and I'm just lucky to be here with you guys. My name is Chef Claudie Pierre. I'm Haitian, obviously, with a name like Claudie Pierre. Yes, I'm a chef, Le Cordon Bleu trained, then I went to Pitt. I have the EAT initiative, which is EAT, Empowerment, Awareness, and Training Initiative, where we talk about food security around the world. And then I also have Eminent Hospitality, which is enterprise, is workforce development, and helping people understand how food is a catalytic piece to everything from economic development, tech, the workforce. So definitely excited to hear a little bit about what everybody else is doing. And I'm excited to be an asset to you guys as well. I'm gonna go back on mute, and my video is not working still.
Yeah, we're working on it, brother. And last but certainly not least, Dr. Jamil Bey. I'm not sure if he's on.
I don't see him on the list at the moment. No, not yet.
Okay. Well, we're going to continue to move things forward despite the technical difficulties at this moment in time. Hopefully we can get that cleared up so we can see everybody's beautiful face before this is all done and through with. We sent out on part one, what we worked on was a SWOT analysis on the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats of what's happening with the Black community and in respect to the internet, and how we interact with one another on the web, how we interact with the technology that's surrounding the web. And first thing we wanted to do was get an idea of what are the reflections of the panelists after having an opportunity to review this SWOT analysis, and to get an idea, like, what are your thoughts after looking at the looking at this SWOT, and as it pertains to your work, did you see anything that maybe we might be able to glean from your expertise? Let's start from the top with Fred Brown.
I think that the need for technology is critical, in particular when we talk about the growing divide within the U.S., in particular around people of color. As the pandemic has hit our area, in particular in Southwestern PA, we see a distinct impact on Black and Brown families. We represent 13% of the county and 30% of hospitalization rates, 30% of positive testing, and 30% of death rates. When this started, we were at 1.5. One of the critical issues is how do we use technology to really express to people and demystify myths in the region around what are appropriate protocols for health and well-being. Two, food security is a critical issue as we look at many of the places that we live and work and play and have food deserts. At the same time, when we look at the geography of our region, we know in the last 80 months, in 3 epicenters in the city of Pittsburgh, property values have increased up to 217%, causing resilient Black and Brown people to move out to first and second ring suburbs. This also requires us to look at a technology divide, a relationship process to manage in lieu of COVID when we're doing physical distancing, and also how do we ensure the integrity of kids and families having access to healthy food. So this is an exciting conversation, and one that I hope to glean from practical approaches.
Very good. Janae, did you get an opportunity to look at the SWOT analysis? And if so, what were your thoughts and what did you see?
I did get a chance to look at it. And, you know, I'm going to stay focused on the financial inclusion lens and talk about a running theme that I want to talk about throughout the conversation, and how technology is so critical in our community and making sure that we have the information. Dick Gregory is known for saying information is power. Well, the Black browser would be an information zone that would be powerful for our community, have the information to be able to better access to capital and wealth building opportunities for our community. As my entree into this dialogue, I wanted to share 2 key things that were on my mind around this whole conversation, if that's okay.
Please do.
Oh, I can start my video. It says.
Oh, Dick.
Yeah. Okay, hi. I wanted to focus on something that happened this week that was announced, that the largest Black CDFI was created. The City First Bank and the Broadway Federal Bank combined came together and decided to be a $1 billion plus financial access to capital entity focused on developing minority institutions and focusing on creating our communities. So we would need the technology and a Black browser to be able to get that information out to people, so that people suffering right now and businesses that are looking to rebuild, these are businesses that have PPP and EIDL and Federal Reserve funding opportunities that are not just loans, but grants to revitalize our communities. And if we had a technology centralized place where people knew where all the Black banks were, people knew where all the largest wealth management firms were, and opportunities, this could really help our entrepreneurs and help our small businesses build and thrive. And to connect it to that, I've been really a big fan of a movie called The Banker. And for those who are on the phone or seeing heard about the movie, but there was a very strategically media push to stop its launch in major movie theaters last year due to some family dynamics. But the story in itself is about two Black men who, before the Fair Housing Act and before the famous Civil Rights Act bills were passed, were able to purchase the largest bankers building in Los Angeles and be able to have all of the top wealth managers in Los Angeles be in one building, and two Black men were overseeing and were their landlords. And they actually purchased properties, homes, the apartment and condo complexes and commercial buildings throughout high wealth places throughout Los Angeles, and were able to give access to people of color to live into these communities and build their wealth. The movie, you can only watch it on Apple TV now. It's free. You can watch it on Apple TV. But if we had a Black browser, when things like this happen, the community would be able to say, all families have problems, and the storyline behind the movie is critically important for our community to see. So I wanted to use those as primal examples of things that are happening now from entertainment and a finance standpoint that speaks to why technology is so important, that if these entities exist, that we have a Black browser system to get these access to capital opportunities out there, including things like Operation Hope. And I'll stop there.
Very good. Very good. So The Banker, make sure that you put that in the chat if you didn't already so that our people can check that out. Janetta, would you mind sharing your thoughts on the SWOT analysis?
Well, I've had an opportunity to briefly kind of go through it. And let me say this, you know, historically Black colleges, we're living in COVID right now. Technology is a must. You know, every university is using some kind of platform and trying to figure out how to use it. And so I know it's been a challenge for some people and to get everything online. And so in fact, I'm speaking tomorrow to the Global Consortium for Entrepreneurship Centers to talk about how we're engaging students, how we're able to transfer our program, what we're finding we can do and we can't do. And my team, we were successful in terms of being able to put the majority of our things online. As soon as it hit, we were ready to go. We were ready we had already been using some of the platforms, you know, Teams and Zoom and so it was challenging. We did a pitch competition online, you know, and we had close to 300 people attend. And so it was challenging. We learned, but we did it, and it was successful. You know, as we gave away a cash award, we had the rooms and everything. We were getting ready to do a pop-up shop where our students are going to be, you know, being able to share their businesses, you know, within this platform. So we're still trying to figure it out. But guess what? We're pivoting as we go. We're learning as we go, as well as the rest of the universities. Some of them are successful, some of them are not. Our faculty, some of them are struggling, some of them are not. You know, but for the most part, we're doing a very good job at Bowie State University at ensuring, because at the end of the day, it's for the success of our students. It's all about providing them with a quality education and ensuring for their success. And so technology, we're using it to the fullest and to the best of our knowledge. And we're ensuring that every student, anybody that needs a laptop, is going to get one or has gotten one. So that's the other thing we're providing, you know, our students with. And some of our HBCUs are struggling because they don't have the funds to provide that for our students. That's a whole nother conversation. But for the most part, We're, we are definitely, this is the perfect time for anybody that's doing anything in technology, because, I've always teach in my entrepreneurship classes and to our students, and, technology is advancing every industry, and we need to, and there are great business opportunities that go with that. In fact, that's a whole workshop. So that we can do. So
Data is the future. Everything
data,
that you're saying is 100% correct. Data is the future in the work that you're
data.
doing.
Yeah, it is definitely data. You got to have that, and especially where our HBCUs are concerned, and how knowing from whence we came to how we're going to get there. That's definitely data. Data is going to get us there.
I hope we lost a little bit of time with this, but with what you're saying, us being able to have access to us being able to have first access to our own data is a big problem.
Yeah.
Right now, when we enter these pitch contests and the ones that aren't conducted by HBCUs, then we're using somebody else's platform and we're bringing our ideas to the table. And with a wealth gap that's historically been very large since slavery, we aren't able to fund our own ideas and do our own community development. And that's where I think a lot of the work that you're doing is essential. Let's move on to Claudie really quick. Brother, food is everything. So I know you have something to share with us about food security and about how information and data impacts your world every day, especially during this pandemic.
Oh man, and I'm loving hearing what I'm hearing, because when I looked at the SWOT analysis, there's certain things that jumped out at me right away. Especially when you think of food. Food is a catalytic piece to almost everything, right? So no matter what, black, white, green, yellow, we understand that everyone has to eat. And so in addition to the culture differences, there's also the culture differences when you look at it this way. Like, people that eat better in the morning are better thinkers, can learn better, even at the universities, at HBCUs, or wherever the case may be. Early childhood development, what those kids are getting in their meals, and from SNAP benefits to WIC benefits that directly correlate with government, that directly correlate to their health and nutrition growing up or in their environments, the amount of trauma that we go through. So just really focusing on that piece from a health and health standpoint, but also from a tech standpoint, is twofold. I've noticed here in the weaknesses, we looked at a couple of things, and I love the fact that you guys talked about lack of connections and funding to scale ideas, or lack of funding to good ideas. So what's happening, like you just said, PJ, the good ideas exist because we all know desperation causes innovation. So we always come up with these great creative ideas, but they die. And then when they die, somebody else makes us want to sell out, right? They make us want to just give our ideas away. So I love those pieces that I pulled out of it, because having a network where we say it's our idea, it's our black platform, it allows us to say, hey, it's a safe place. We can come with an idea and we can identify capital to make sure we fund it. The other thing I was going to say is, from an enterprising and from a workforce development standpoint, understanding how food is a multi-trillion-dollar industry, and understanding from seed to selling from a farmer standpoint how important it is, but also understanding from selling it, prepared meals, creating and manufacturing products, also just the hospitality industry as it pertains to restaurants, hotels, hospitals. UPMC is the biggest employer, and how many of those people are black that work in all the hospitality areas? So just understanding how many layers that it actually takes. And before I go back on mute and listen to you guys' great ideas, what I wanted to say is, we have to understand that just as much as we're going really, really digital, we have to understand how the digital can help some of those analog people. So we created an EAT hotline where the seniors and the students and people that can't get there, we can still track them with our technology, but they still have access to a text message and a phone call. So understanding how to reverse engineer, even though we're going super tech heavy and tech is the move and data is the move, how do we capture the data from those senior citizens and those people just with a phone, and we get them food as well? Lastly, I'm gonna say this, when it comes to really capturing data, we have to understand that food is a way that we get people to trust us And if we culturally utilize what we know about our people, we can really help our people instead of the blanket approach. So we see, oh, we want to do workforce development and teach them tech. And it's a blanket approach like, oh, we want to get this to the people. We are now saying, how do we get that single mother of two fresh produce and food and tech? So we're looking at it from this point looking up versus saying, hey, I'm the United Way, or I'm the big organization, I'm the big bank, and I need to get all this food to these people. It's not a blanket situation, and each person has their own nuance. So we're trying to use the technology that I know you all are working on as well to really show like, hey, I'm a single mother, I'm an athlete, I'm disabled, I'm Black in this desert. How do we get those people their specific needs based on the cultural things that we talked about? And I could go on more about that, but that also includes workforce development and doing the same approach, looking at it from the person that needs it lens versus the person that has it to give lens.
Claudia, you're making some really good points, brother. And I think that your question speaks a lot to some of the work that I know that Fred Brown's doing over at the Forbes Funds, where you're looking at one aspect of somebody's life. And if you do that and you try to heal or help somebody and cure their life or make their life better in a siloed, isolated way, then it's not going to work. A cross-sectoral framework is something that's necessary. I know that's a big part of what the work that Fred Brown's doing at the Forbes Funds. Fred, with respect to, I mean, this is a major problem when it comes down to understanding and being able to personalize and make the internet useful for our people. There's a big issue with data, sovereignty, and racism. The one thing that we have left as a people is our data. We don't own a lot of land. We don't own a bunch of Fortune 500 businesses. One thing we do have that's of value, that's going to be valuable in the future, is our data. Now, somebody with your agency, working with a large company, as the president and CEO of that company, what are you doing to ensure that when you work with at-risk, underserved communities that technically have the greatest potential for growth and the greatest potential to bring value and perspective to what's going to happen in the future, how do you protect us at the same time when it comes down to our data?
That's a great question. I think our approach is much more myopic in that 2 years ago when I took over the Forbes Funds 31 months ago, I partnered with the London School of Systems Change to create a systems application at the micro, meso, macro, and global level. Upon doing so, I immediately discerned that a lot of our systems applications were embedded in economic constructs that represent dominant culture pedagogy, capitalism. And so we shifted over the past year from systems change to ecosystems development with a focus on human-centered design. And so how we think about our work now is how do you educate, inform, and empower residents on the ground to understand the value of data? So we use two particular constructs. One is, three if you think about human-centered design, but the two developmental ones around data collection is community-based participatory research and indigenous research methodologies. So we use those to train and educate people the value of data, why data is important. And then as we begin to collect data with them as a partner, we shield other people's access to that data. And so we're really working hard at helping people understand how to regulate data, how to help data tell stories, but also how to understand the value of data, because to your point, PJ, many of us don't understand the value of data, and people are collecting data on us every day to make decisions about marketing campaigns, where we're going to put houses, resources, schools, what have you. And I think the real challenge for us is many of our people are in survival mode, not thriving. And so when you think about the work you guys are pioneering, you're creating a paradigm shift in the way we think about processing data, how we value data to create pivots in our current reality, which is the current COVID one. And when we think about COVID, what are the niches that people of color need to look at to provide opportunity to pivot? Data is one of them, right? The other one is this opportunity to scale and learn new skills, which is around access to technology. But one that you wrote that's an opportunity, it's also a threat, is self-healing, right? If you, this is a holistic process. if we follow this set of um, operandi, right? If we follow dominant culture pedagogy, we're going to find ourselves doing what they do, just with a
Yes.
different name, right? It'll just be a different name with some people of color saying it's Afrocentric when it's not. So when we look at cosmology, axiology, and epistemology, our worldview has to shift in a way to understand how we use this framework to create a pivot for us to function differently, right? And so I would say that Einstein said you can't solve a problem with the same energy that created it. How is your browser creating the impetus for people to think differently about what they bring to the table so that their frequency resonates at a higher level, that they see solutions that they currently can't see because they're oppressed by the social economic conditions they're currently in? That's not the sum total of us, right? That's a condition. We're capable of shifting in and out of that condition. But let's, like Chef Claudia indicated, what you put in your body is what comes out. If you put junk in, junk comes out. Like, you can't perform at the highest level, but those kind of things are devoid of a holistic delivery system. And lastly, I would say the other thing that we've done, PJ, and you've been very instrumental in this, one is the work we've done with Nora Bateson in Sweden around labs and creating an equitable framework to look at how we constitute conversations in David as well. But the other one is utilizing the social determinants of health as a holistic delivery system that's reverse engineered to the UN SDGs. That gives our sense that we have to function on a local and global platform. And what does that require of me as a citizen to now be aware of? And so raising that consciousness, using technology and safeguarding it is a constant 24/7 process.
Right. Would you say that, just piggybacking on what you're saying, and this would be a question for you, Ms. Roscoe, when you talk about raising consciousness and getting over the psychological impediment, a lot of people would say that you've got to give in order to be able to get. A lot of people would say there needs to be an incentive, an economic incentive, if you want to see our people improve here, which is unfortunate, but it's very hard to teach a person to fish if they're hungry. Now, I know a lot of the work that your organization has done, Operation Hope, with respect to opportunity zones and putting our people in a position to improve their credit score. What have you noticed, and what does your data say that you've been able to collect over, I don't even know how long you all have been working. I think it's been at least a couple of decades now where you've been able to work with our community to try to put us in a position where we can start to think about a future in the first place. We can start to have the level of consciousness that Fred is talking about as well, and that Claudia's talking about what we're putting in our bodies. If we don't have the financial means to improve what we're putting in our bodies, does it matter? What are your thoughts on that, Janae?
So Operation Hope was founded by a gentleman called John Hope Bryant. He's the founder, chairman, and CEO of the company. It was founded after the LA riot, and the Rodney King riots in particular in 1992. So we're in the 28th year. And through our Hope in Hand app, we're able to now reach anyone across the country to help people rebuild economically after COVID and just the civil unrest that we're in. And we're actually pivoting more and helping communities where there's a lot of civil unrest. John Bryant is known for a quote: "There's a difference between being broke and being poor. Being broke is an economic condition, and we have to vow never to. And then being poor is a mental decision that we allow our economic situation to dictate our mentality and who we are and how we are. So if we have millions of dollars, then we think we're happy. And if we don't have any money and we owe people and we're constantly in debt, then we think we are poor. But the difference is we're broke. This country is broke. We are an indebted society, yet we're known as the wealthiest country in the world because of our innovation, because of our entrepreneurial spirit, and because we are economic leaders and we have the ability to make wealth and create wealth. And so if we as people of color are able to change that mentality of realizing I am not a poor person. I may be living in an impoverished situation, but I have a mind, I have a body, I have a soul and a spirit, and I don't see myself as an impoverished, a poor person. I'm just struggling right now economically, and I just have to vow that I'm going to get myself out of it, but it doesn't have to dictate who I am and how I am. So John Bryan often tells our team members, which are financial well-being coaches, we may be helping your economic indication, but what we're really trying to do is change your mindset. And that's why we're happy to work with different partners like Janetta Hardy. That's how I first met her. She's my mentor in the entrepreneurship space, and how she's been able to help create. And Janetta, you got to brag a little bit here. You need to let the team know how many entrepreneurship centers that you helped HBCUs create. There's over 100 HBCUs. And when I met Janetta 15 years ago, I think there was 10 HBCUs, or maybe 3, that had entrepreneurship centers. But she said if HBCUs are in communities where there are people of color, they need to have innovation centers and entrepreneurship centers so that they can start taking that mindset that I may be a student, I may be on student loan debt, but if I have an idea, maybe I can get myself out of it.
Mm.
So I'm throwing it back to you.
Hey, PJ, can I jump in?
Of course.
Yeah, I would love to hear from Janetta about what the exciting economic opportunities that she sees in food, health, and wellness, specifically related to our community.
Down here. Hi, thanks so much. Let me say this.
Go Bowie State! I like the background.
Thank you. Let me just say this. There are a lot of opportunities for, you know, we've got what we call a partnership with NSF, in which we're building, we're helping to build our faculty, the research, so that we can look at how we can take that to market and commercialize it. And some of the businesses involve AI, a lot, you know, AI, a lot of tech. You know, we've got, you know, one student who I'm really excited about, you know, hair. It's, what is it, $200 billion industry, you know, she's grossing, this is a student, she's grossing like $15,000 a month. And she's got the Uber of the hair care. She's delivering in this kind of, you know, in this environment. She's created this opportunity. And let me back up for 1 second to say, 80% of our students are on financial aid at Bowie State. And that's pretty much most of that, you know, that pretty much says a lot for a lot of our students who are at HBCUs. You know, so entrepreneurship is, you know, and I think somebody on this panel mentioned it, you know, it's an opportunity for our students to sustain themselves, you know? And so providing our students with this mindset to be able to help them think differently, to let them know that, guess what? Your circumstances are not going to dictate your outcome. And that's the mindset we want our students to have. That's the nurturing mindset that HBCUs provide, right? And that's why HBCUs have a huge role to play in this. Because of that, the education is so important for our young people, that generation, getting them to understand, you know, that they have a role to play, and giving them the tools and the resources to do it. But when they come out, they're in so much student debt. They got so many other distractions. They can't do what they need to do. And so if we could get that student debt eliminated, you know, and be able to provide the entrepreneurial mindset for all of our students, they can help create the communities that we need. We provide them with the data that they need to show, guess what, in this community, this is what we need. I know at Bowie State University, we're starting within our community. We're looking at the data. Where are the needs? What kind of opportunities can our students be working with? Who are the industry partners that our students can be working with to help create, to innovate, to look at opportunities that they can help, you know, create value and wealth. And that's the other thing, the wealth gap. I mean, the education. If we can educate our young people, you know, they will help. That education, those HBCUs can help our students create that wealth gap. And also, where's Janae? Financial literacy, huge part. Another part we got to add to the HBCUs. If our students can learn how to create budgets, how to plan, how to save, how to get their credit score up. Sorry, get a little excited.
I just want to say amen. I just want to say amen.
Oh,
What
hold on,
you're saying is,
how many entrepreneurship centers are there in the HBCU?
Oh my gosh. Well, let's see. When I was at Howard, we created out of 105, there were 27 of them. Right now, we're still researching it. In fact, we're going to be doing an HBCU Entrepreneurship Summit next year. We did that when I was at Howard for 5 years, and we're going to do it again at Bowie next year. So stay tuned for that.
Wow.
We're going to find out how many there are out there and what they're doing and what HBCUs can do to close that wealth gap, and how we can be a part of continuing to educate our young people so that they can be the one that create opportunities and help those communities that can't help themselves.
Yes.
Can I say something? As crazy as it sounds, I was on a panel for Forward Cities. I was at a panel, and I said something about with the development. It was a development forum, and they were talking about, you know, how there's a lack of entrepreneurs that are in some of these commercial spaces. So I said to them, why don't they create a pipeline program where we can bake in, pun intended, some of the small businesses that are coming in, so that when these developers are getting these tax credits and the different opportunity zones, opportunities, they already baked in because there's a pipeline.
Yeah.
Long story short, I got an opportunity to go down to South Carolina to speak at a HBCU, and we talked about working colleges. We talked about, from a chef standpoint, I deal with so many food businesses, from caterers to bakers to farmers to whatever. And I spoke to them, and I showed them, like, hey, these storefronts and these mixed use buildings that people are getting millions of dollars to do in opportunity zones, we actually can do a pipeline from the HBCUs, whether they're graduates, whether whatever, and we can pre-bake in, because some of the costs that they occur, and I know, trust me, I've been up and I've been down. When you're trying to build out a commercial space, by the time you put all your resources in, or try to find resources, you're asked out, excuse my French. You know what I mean? So we're trying to identify a way to say, hey, you have a business idea, we have a competition, or whatever the case may be. Now we have a pipeline of small businesses that, yes, you can find an anchor business in some of these mixed use opportunity zone projects. And a lot of them are HBCU corridors. So we're finding ways to say, hey, we can bake in to the architecture and the development some of these small businesses and what they'll need. So it's just crazy. Like this is a conversation we need to have on a bigger scale. And I'm just a lowly chef, but these are the kind of things that we've been around and we've been talking about, that now we got to break the silos. There's so many silos around capital, around development, around opportunities, especially as it pertains to entrepreneurship and just access to food and resources. So I'm gonna stop there.
I love what you said. I just want to say something. HBCUs, there are over 100 of them around the country, but they're actually in every U.S. state and jurisdiction, because they're there through the Alumni Association. So Pittsburgh has a very thriving HBCU alumni network, and actually, where there may not be an HBCU location, you have alumni, you actually have a funding mechanism to support local businesses in those communities. That's the thing about the Entrepreneurship Center that triggers in that support from the alumni.
Also, I just want to say things. One is, we'll disregard the statement that Claudie's just a lowly chef. Obviously, that brother's a lot more than just a chef. He's an innovator, a thinker, just like a lot of our brothers and sisters are. It's just we have that brilliance in us. Secondly, we were also joined recently. Dr. Jamil Bey was able to jump on. At the very least, brother, could you just introduce yourself to the rest of the panel and the people that are on this call? We're having a great discussion around some things. If you could just like chime in about your thoughts about the internet, health and wellness, how data relates to your work, and then what what are your thoughts moving forward?
Those are too many questions for me to get through in the time that you have left in this thing. I said I'm apologizing for jumping on late. You know, as an entrepreneur, I just took on a new client today, and our time stretched longer than I'd hoped to, but it was a profitable thing. It looks like I jumped into the conversation as Brother Fred was talking, and trying to catch up from there. These are the kinds of things that we were talking about, and I don't know what was covered before I jumped on, but what we need to redo right now. We're in this moment. We know, and we've all known it the whole time, and this is the HBCU thing. We've got to take care of our own. What they are doing, that ain't got nothing to do with us, in the sense that as long as we allow it to. But when we see that we're responsible for our finances, we're responsible for our communities, our families, our data, our healthcare, and stop, okay, I got my break. Now let me run out and go and do this other thing with them. As long as we're committed to our own communities, our own neighborhood, that's the work. It said, Brother Claudia, that brother has never said, hey, Jamil, I need, and I'm okay, let me see what I can do. Fred keeps me, hey, brother, we know, because I know that these two brothers are committed to the big picture that I'm committed to. And so that's the kind of mentality that our kids need to see, that's, I'm loving what I heard at the tail end of it. It said, I don't know what we covered, and I don't want to bore anybody else with any other details. But, for the folks, there's a couple of folks who I don't know yet. So I'm Jamil Bey. I run the Urban Kind Institute. It's a think and do tank. We do applied social science research. We try to be relevant wherever we can be. And by doing, that means you got to get your hands dirty, your feet wet. You got to be in there with the people. And these theoretical approaches, they don't mean anything if they're not proofed in the neighborhood. Do they work where people live and how people work? And so that's the work that we try to do. I coordinate a network of the Black Environmental Collective. It's a network of 140 Black folks in Southwestern Pennsylvania who do work at the intersection of health, environment, food, and climate change. And we also do another network. We're creating the Equitable and Just Pittsburgh platform. And it's an intersectional approach to looking at all of the issues that impact us, and how do we create a platform that we then can hold each other, elected officials, philanthropy, and ever accountable when they're dealing with us. And so that's the work that I'm doing right now. And so I'm happy to support in any way that I can. And I haven't met Jenna yet, haven't met Janetta yet. I can't wait to build with you. I know some Bowie alumni. So let's work.
Yeah. Before we wrap everything up, because David will probably wrap it, we'll talk a little bit about the browser, but I want everybody on this call to understand something. And I think this is something we all do understand, how important information is. It wasn't just Black Wall Street that got burnt to the ground. It's not just the economic centers that we've had that, were burnt to the ground. It's the information ecology. It's about our ability to build and share and collaborate like the way we are right now with each other, and to build our own digital infrastructure, which is something that we don't have. I was in a conversation not too long ago, and brother was talking about how the Chinese have a 100-year plan. I was like, wow. Then he said the Chinese actually have a 1,000-year plan of what they want to do with their people. And I felt like embarrassed, because I was like, wow, like, do we even have a 1-year plan where we're cohesively working together with the resources that we have on the table and the assets that we all bring to the table intellectually? We can think our way out of anything. That's one thing I know about us. And so a big part of rebuilding that information ecology was looking at the fact that we don't have access to the internet unless we use a guest pass. And that's where a lot of the original data is. If you go on somewhere and you search something, then who gets that data? Who's looking at that data first? It'd be like, okay, somebody searched this. There's algorithms that are pulling all that out that we don't have access to, at least not the type of access that other people do. And so it just becomes important for us to look at this technology thing as it's not done yet. It's not over yet. We can be a part of this. And I love a lot of what Janetta is doing. You seem to be like a bridge between our educational institutions and where we're going as a people in the future. Like connecting with these brothers and sisters that are on here is essential. because you represent the future if that's where our kids are coming through that pipeline, like Claudia was talking about. So that's my piece. I didn't know if David, you wanted to talk about a few things, or Claudia, if anybody else wanted to talk about anything specific.
Yeah, I did. I want to briefly say we're creating something called, and I need all of your help. We have a couple of people that really want to support us, from banks to universities and everything, but I want your help first. We're creating something called a food access network. We're leveraging everything from geofences to AR to all types of different technology to basically let people have their identity and do what they're doing around food security and information around food, but saying, hey, we now can interconnect and make sure that we can have a secure food city. So no more food deserts. We can do it with the technology and the information that we have of our people. There's no reason why we can't get food, fresh produce, and hot meals, whether it's a voucher, whether it's a farmer's market, whether it's a box of produce. There's no reason why we can't get it to them. And then also measuring that and showing how them eating healthier produces a better mindset, like someone said, produces a better opportunity for them to become entrepreneurs and make better decisions. And we're calling it some sort of a peace of mind, so to speak. What keeps you up at night? Your finances, food, family. So we're looking at it from that perspective. And once again, we're identifying, what does the person need? Not saying, hey, I'm United Way looking down, I need to get food to all these people. How do I get food to that single mother of two? How do I get food to that handicapped person? So we're creating that. I would love to hear your thoughts around that. So please, I would love to connect, whether it's the workforce development piece, whether it's that piece, or it's our tech piece. We would love to work with you all.
So great, that's amazing. I wanted to surface one of the questions that has come up. So Denise Hilleman from London is asking, is anyone open to collaborating with a Black female-led company in the UK looking at changing leadership mindsets? Any thoughts on changing leadership mindsets? And if there are some collaboration opportunities, it'd be great to hear from the panel as well.
I would say yes. I would say yes to the partnership collaboration. We're getting ready to launch a international anti-racism institutional wireframe cohort at the next month. We've invited 60 people from around the world to participate. The goal is to move away from theoretical to metaphysical activity. Definitely looking at this notion of moving away from transactional to transformational leaders, and really looking at how do we grow the sector's emerging leaders so that they remain in certain cities. For example, Pittsburgh graduates 40,000 graduates a year, 20,000 of them leave every year because there's not burgeoning opportunities for them to grow in our sector. And so looking at succession planning, leadership, and the role of Black women in this world is critical. So yes, and yes, and yes.
And Chef Claudia, you wanted to say something?
Oh yeah, there's I'm a part of something. Look it up, Asset Framing, Trabian Shorters, the Be Me Fellowship, and we talk about changing the mindset of how we even talk about our neighborhoods and what we're doing, and all of us are assets. So looking at it like that versus liabilities and deficits. So that's a good one. I'll put it in here as well. I don't want to keep talking, but Trabian has this way of helping leaders, instead of asking for money and kissing ass all the time, excuse my French, he's saying basically, you need to talk about your community like it's an asset. You need to say, hey, you need to invest and there's a return on your investment, versus you saying, hey, you know, I'm from a, you know what kind of area and is marginalized and it's peripheral, and asking, hey, can you give us some money for some Band-Aids? Asking for collectively, or saying, hey, we're gonna rise and this is what you can get if you do it. So I'm gonna put that in here as well, but that's one of the lessons that I learned that really changed my thought process on how to look at our communities, and it helped lead in a different scope, if you will.
Anyone else have any thoughts or reflections on that? Or
we can go into the wrap. 1 second, I'm just looking at the comments.
The person Denise, who's from the UK, is she out of the UK and she's working in the US, or where is she located? I didn't see come on the call today, but I did invite an African American woman who works for a UK-based financial company called Revolut. Revolut is opening up a marketplace and looking to fund people of color businesses from a lot of different products and services. So if she's from the UK, she may be familiar with what they're doing, but I'm going to put their website in here. And I don't think Joteka, her name is Joteka Edie. She's looking to figure out how can she expose people of color to the different fintech opportunities that are coming out of this company. So we'll have more to come with her later. But if she's in the UK, she'll probably know about this company.
Awesome. I'm asking Denise if she'd like to just speak for a moment. I know this sister personally, and you want to just speak a little bit to what you're speaking about. There she goes.
Hi, good evening. Good evening all. Very, very good session. Very interesting. So I'm based in the UK, and I have a leadership consultancy firm. I've developed a methodology, a service leadership methodology that's called the Lead Mindset. And basically what we do, we look at ways of changing the leadership conversation, changing perceptions around leadership, because there are so many initiatives out there around leadership and leadership skills. But I think that we need to look at perceptions, go back to the source, how we view things. And listening to the panel tonight, I heard, lots of references to it. So I do this in collaboration with large companies like IBM, Santander UK, Lloyds Bank. And we've had lots of success with it. So I'm really open to people who are thinking along those lines, who are passionate about getting people to think outside the box, being influencers and helping particularly 9 to 25-year-olds to understand the impact of our mindsets.
Yeah, it's powerful and necessary.
Well, thank you, Denise.
Sure.
So I see that there's a lot of URLs in the chat. So what I recommend for everybody is to go to the chat and save the chat, because there's a bunch of information in there I think that could be useful. Do you want to wrap now, PJ? You want me to move in?
Yeah, go ahead. Just we're gonna say a few words. Again, this is part 2 of a 3-part series. The first one was the SWOT analysis on where are we at. This is the second part, where are we headed, which is the Internet of Things. Like we need our own surfboard if we're gonna surf the web, and this is a big part of. This is an important piece. It's not just an economic issue that we're dealing with. Information and data is money. That is the future, and we need to be a part of that conversation and building that future. And everybody that was on here, I just want to thank the panelists and stuff for just giving us your insight and your thoughts and your ideas and sharing with us the work that it is that you're doing. And this isn't a one-off. The goal is for us to actually begin building from this place. This isn't just a one-time thing. In part 3, we're going to discuss a little bit more about the browser and how we see a digital infrastructure in which a lot of the different people that were on this call as panelists and other influencers and business leaders and stuff that we know can fit into an ecosystem in which we can all be a part of building moving forward. David, do you want to say a few things? And that's my piece.
Yeah. I will just close up by giving those of you who haven't heard of the Black Browser Initiative just a little flavor of what we're talking about. So this came about after the George Floyd killing and the conversations, PJ and I, and other people as well, were really recognizing that we needed to shift our relationship with information. And some of those conversations led to the notion of, wow, what would it be like if we had a Black browser? And if we had a Black browser, why not make one that leapfrogs the existing browser technology so that it actually provides the information that we need to be successful in our relationship with the internet? Because right now, I would say that most of us, our relationship with the internet is such that we look at the information, we're not sure what's true or not. We see a lot of information out there, but it's not so much really pertaining to our community and helping us build and helping us understand how we can be healthy, how we can have well-being, how we can be financially powerful. So we're not getting that. So we came up with this notion of a Black browser that had some really special features. And one is that it would create a safe digital space for the community and for allies, where you know that every single person that you encounter within this space is a real person in good standing. No bots, no predators, no abusers. Beyond that, we saw the importance of enabling people, Black people, to connect firsthand accounts and history to the present. Right now, there's a lot of history about Black people that we don't even know. And obviously some of us know some pieces here and there, but I mean, I find it appalling that up until 10 years ago, not too many people knew about Black Wall Street. And really, many more people found out about it through Watchmen, the HBO show, which is really crazy. And then, of course, more people are finding out about it through George Floyd. But this should be information that we grow up learning. And there's two aspects of it, right? There's the fact that you know, something that was really beautiful got destroyed. But I think the most important thing about this is that was one of the best examples of Black economic success, where there was an ecosystem created where Black people were trading and not relying upon other people, and they were building, they were creating, they were producing, they were providing services, and it was working. It was working. Yes, it got destroyed, but we need to know these things, and it's not in the textbooks, as we know. So what do? Well, let's connect all the information so that when you go to a site about Tulsa, ultimately you have access to the Black Wall Street. When you go to a site about massacres or genocide, you find out about that. When you go to a site about Black success, you could find out about Black Wall Street. In many other places, you should be able to find out. You should be able to link back to and find out this historical information that can help empower us and help us understand our past so that we can chart a future that works for all of us. And the other thing that we thought was really important was an ability to understand, as you're going through the shopping experience, what products, Black owned, Black produced, or just products for Black people that are available alternatives to the thing that I'm looking at. Right now, almost everybody's shopping on Amazon all the time, and Amazon's not going to let you know if this is produced by a Black person, or if this was marketed by a Black person, or if this was conceived by a Black person, or as if this is good for a Black person, or if this is actually good for me. What if we were able to provide people information about the products that they're looking at and the other related products to it that can help them understand from a health standpoint what the best things for them to take into their body would be. So these are the types of things that could be possible with the Black browsers. Just really the tip of the iceberg. But we're super excited about what this could be done, what this Black browser can do for Black health, Black wealth, Black well-being, and super excited to go a little deeper in the conversation on Monday. We're hoping that those of you who can make it will be able to join us for that conversation. It'll be Monday at 6 p.m. We'll be sending more information out to all of those of you who have joined this conversation. So once again, thank you so much for being here. PJ, any closing words?
Can you guys give a shout out to Black Philanthropy Month?
Oh, definitely a shout out to Black Philanthropy Month. Definitely a shout out to the Black Blockchain Summit as well, which will be coming up September 12th, I believe. We'll be speaking there as well at Howard University. And yeah, this is something that our people need. This is something that if we are going to be able to work together in the future, pretty sure technology will be involved. So we should probably do our best to be as close to the supply chain of that technology as possible. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, the panelists and stuff. Like, I wish we'd give you a round of applause. Technology isn't really that good yet, but
let's
you
do it
deserve
though.
Yes. But thank you so much. And everybody take care and have a good evening.
Hey, Claudia, I'll see you in a few minutes. Don't lock up.
All right. Thank you all. Have a great rest of your evening.
Bye.